Thursday afternoon, November 13th, 2014. This is the 9th in a series of about a dozen videos taking you through the decision to do the tank, redo this tank, to ultimately putting fish in the tank. What you're looking at is the 170-gallon project tank that was originally on Craigslist for a couple of $100. The condition of the tank when I first saw it was outside underneath a person's eave of their house. It was about a third filled with water, rainwater, and there were quite a few mosquitoes that had bred in there and was flying all over the place. And I think that's one of the reasons why the owner of the tank wanted to get rid of it. She didn't think that she could fix it anymore. I think they made several attempts to fix the tank, and it just didn't work. And I think she had just ran out of resources to be able to put into the tank. So the next day she called me up and said, "Come pick up the tank. You can have it if you want it." Now, before I picked up the tank, I had to consider a few things. First of all, even though I got the tank for free, I didn't really know if it was able to be fixed. I mean, I saw how it had leaked. I saw the numerous repair attempts on this tank, and I knew that I had to do a stand. I have to come with lights, some glass hoods, an aquascape. So it was a fairly expensive ordeal that I was undertaking if I took the tank. This tank here, the 150, was a $200 special on Craigslist. Now, I got the tank itself, a Cascade 150-gallon filter, and a number of water blowers and water movers and things like that, heaters, but that was about it. So that was a $200 deal. This tank would take at least a couple $100 to put together, if it even worked. It had a tremendous amount of water stains, which I'm still trying to get off the tank. It was painted black, which I wasn't particularly fond of. And I'd have to find a steel stand that up to this date I had never even seen. So it was quite a challenge to determine if this was even a deal. And in fact, it took me about a month just to decide to get going with the tank, even after I picked it up. But finally got going with it, and that's part one of this video series. What you're looking at are the Fluval 24-inch LED light system that I'm probably going to use on this tank. The light system is what they call the ultra bright system, which is not suitable for corals or planets. It's just suitable for fish and plastic plants. So it's not the lowest on their rung of LEDs. The lowest is Eco Bright. These are ultra brights. And originally I had bought these for my 150, but they were too short to fit on the 150, so I ended up with Marineland 36-inch, two of them, for the 150. And these light strips were orphans. I put them on a couple of tanks and just use them around the office however I could use them. But they weren't that effective for me. The other day I did pick up a 24-inch unit that was not an ultra bright, but an Eco Bright, which is one light system below this, which I'll probably put in between these two so I can take care of that dead spot that sometimes happens when you have two light systems like this that are separated by more than a foot, which is this would probably be. But as it is, it's lighting up the tank fairly well. I'm going to take a look at the tank from the side here, and as you can see, lights up the tank fairly well. Now, once we have water in there, that may be different. So I think the additional light strip is going to help quite a bit. You're looking at the tank again, and also the stand where the tank's going to be positioned. We're going to lift this tank in about a week. And then after I get back from Thanksgiving, I'm going to put water in it. Once I got going with the tank, I tried to figure out how best to do an aquascape on the tank. And one of the things I thought about was I wanted something that was traditionally a Florida scape, and that would be coral, some lime rock, and this is what I got for this particular tank. The first box, various fish shops and so forth around town, I paid about $50 or $60 for the corals and the rocks that you see there. The box here, which are much smaller corals and rocks, I paid about $30 for that. So altogether I paid about $80 for the aquascape. I think if you were to do a universal rock background or something like that, you would pay at least that or much more. I wanted a very natural scape in this tank. I didn't want to paint the background of the tank. I wanted to keep it as natural as possible. As you see, I do have a glass wall in my conference room, which is rather unique, but this permits people from that office there to view the tank, people within the conference room to view the tank. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted the back of the tank to be clear. Talking about the Craigslist for just a minute. Craigslist is not always a deal. There are deals on Craigslist, and there are some very bad buys on Craigslist. I tried to get the light system from Craigslist. There were some Fluval lights on there. There were some filters on there. There were even some glass lids on there. But what happens is many times the folks that are on Craigslist pay too much for their stuff, and then they want to pass those savings on to you by charging you what they paid for the stuff, and that's not going to happen. That is a bad buy, and it was pretty evident that I could get the lighting system cheaper, I could get the filters cheaper than on Craigslist. And so just because it's on Craigslist doesn't mean it's a good buy. The stand was quite an adventure. Was trying to get a metal stand from a guy south of town. He was trying to sell this metal stand with a 125-gallon tank. And he tried to sell the unit as about $250, which is not a good buy, in my opinion, because the stand is worth about $80 to $100. And that meant that the tank itself was about $150, which is probably not a bad buy, but it's not a great buy. And I just didn't need another tank. I tried to buy the stand by itself. I couldn't do that. So I ended up finding another stand, and the lady was just wanting to sell me the stand. So I got the stand for $80, which was a great buy. It wasn't a super buy, but it was a solid buy. And it was a buy that I had to go forward with because those stands, brand new, which I've never seen in a fish tank store. But I suspect if I did see one, they would probably want a couple $100 for something like that brand new. And so for $80, I got it under 50% of what it probably would have sold retail. So I thought that was a decent buy. I've seen a stand like that as cheap as $50 online, but I've never bought one for $50. So having it online for $50 and buying one for $50 is two totally different things. But it wasn't a great buy, but it was a decent buy, and I needed it to go forward because the guy I had looked at his stand before, he actually sold the thing from underneath me. So lesson learned there is, you really can't depend on people from Craigslist to keep to their word one way or the other. Every man's for himself, and if they can sell it from underneath you, they will. That's just the rule on Craigslist. So buyer beware. You need to be aggressive. I'm often aggressive on the ads when they come out. Some of my offers are probably a little bit lower than they would like to see, but if they want to get rid of it, they have an offer as soon as they put it up there. So sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. So the fish that I'm looking at putting in here are going to be Tropheus. Also some other fish from Tanganyika will be Frontosas. And then I'm going to put some Victorian fish in here as well. So I'm looking forward to the fish being put in this tank shortly after Thanksgiving. That will be my next video in this series, is having the tank up on the stand and the aquascape in place. So I'm really excited about where we are with the tank. We're getting very close. I'm going to douse it down a little bit tonight so that I can get some of the hard water stains off of this thing. They still are occurring on the tank. I'm doing my best to get them off, but I just don't know if I'll be able to completely remove them. But everything is coming together on the tank. The aquascape has been purchased, and I'll give you a rundown of the price of everything once I get it in place. But my goal was $200. I probably spent $250 when it's all said and done. Maybe a little bit more than that to get this tank in shape. But it was really a unique tank. At 170 gallons, it's the largest tank that I ever saw for sale on Craigslist in person. And it's just hopefully it'll be a beautiful tank and beautiful setup. So anyway, that's about all I have. Going to let you go. If you like the video series, please let me know that. Comment, subscribe. Florida Fish 100 signing off. See you next time. Bye.